Welcome back. Well, some holidaymakers say they've concerns about how safe it is to go into the water after numerous beaches in the Durban area were closed because of fluctuating E.coli bacteria levels. According to the eThekwini mayor last year, over 1 million South African tourists made their way to Durban's beaches for the December holiday season. Now, let's discuss this further. We are now joined via Zoom by Brett Tungay, Federated Hospitality Association of Southern Africa East Coast Board chairperson. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, Brett. So talk to us about how the turnout has been this year compared to the same time last year, and just some of the concerns that some holidaymakers are having.
Surprisingly good, actually. It's actually beaten all our forecasts. The turnout has been phenomenal. We must actually thank the South African domestic tourists. They've come out in their numbers and they're supporting our tourism establishments. It's lovely to see. We're not going to be pre-COVID numbers in general, but we're going to be close. It's actually a very good season. The holidaymakers are working around the issues. You know, they're just traveling to beaches that are open and they're enjoying their holidays.
Are you concerned at all about just some of the reports that we are hearing in as far as, you know, some tests being conducted, but not to the satisfactory of, you know, some authorities, and therefore beaches being opened without doing those thorough tests? I hear you when you say, you know, everything is looking well, but are you concerned, you know, that some lives, for instance, some bathers who go to some of those beaches may experience problems later? I mean, we've heard reports of, you know, just some people being hospitalized after visiting several beaches.
No, very much so. It's a huge concern for us. And we're asking holidaymakers to be cognizant of the risk, and they must make decisions or educated decisions on that. There are beaches that are good and are clean, and we encourage them to visit those. Unfortunately, this is an ongoing problem. We've been fighting municipalities now for months over these issues. And yeah, as we see, there's still closed beaches and we're in December, which is a huge disappointment for us. But as I said, we're having the numbers, the tourists are there. And remember, there's a lot to do for tourists. The beaches is just one activity. We've got amazing activities all along the coast, inland, and the Drakensberg in the Midlands. There's a lot for tourists to do. So it's not just the beaches.
And in fact, you know, tourism KZN announcing that, you know, from the hospitality side, that accommodation, that capacity is rising nicely, which is very good for tourism. So how important then is it, especially for tourism? Should systems be working around cities, especially like Durban, that attract tourism around this time of year?
Very correct. It's a huge problem, municipal collapse, and that's a problem we're experiencing throughout the province of KZN. You know, it's from the roads, the water, sewage, well, now we've got the load shedding. So yes, huge issues. But despite these issues, establishments are making plans. They're putting in boreholes. They purifying their own water. They dealing with their own waste. South Africans are resourceful people, and we're showing that here with the resilience of the tourism industry, despite local government and what they've attempted to not deliver. We're still coping. And we're delivering great holiday experiences to the tourists.
And how has load shedding affected most of those establishments that you speak of? You know, I'm looking at the occupancy rate in terms of, you know, the hospitality industry, particularly the KZN Midlands. It's sitting at 100%.
That is correct. Very good numbers coming through. Most establishments have gone either onto generators or solar. And there's a concern, especially for us in terms of smaller members that can't afford generation capacity, especially emerging businesses in the sector. It's a huge problem. And even across the board, a lot of our members in the hospitality sector, restaurants, accommodation, are running on generators. And these generators are consuming huge amounts of diesel. And it's literally establishments' profit margins going up in smoke, which it's not good. We've had a bad run of it the last 3 years now in the industry, and people are relying on a good Christmas season like this to put money back in the bank, pay off loans, debt, and at the moment, a huge chunk of that is going into paying for fuel for generators, which is not a great thing.
And Brett, I find that very hard, to understand how these businesses are actually surviving. If you look at some of the outages lasting as long as 13 hours, and some establishments saying that they've burnt between 70,000 and 80,000, rands in diesel just to keep the lights on. How sustainable is this? What are the long-term plans?
It's not sustainable, and it's an issue we're all trying to face as tourism business owners, myself included. Where do you go? If I look, a lot of us, we've put in solar, we're putting in alternates, but at the end of the day, we still have to rely on generators for the primary power production, and that's diesel. Where do you go? If we look at it, yes, it's fine. December occupancies are high, and we will be able to, in general, cover the running costs of our generators. But if I go back and I look at, especially where I'm based in the Drakensberg, a lot of the resorts, September, October, quieter months, and the fuel bills were more than the profit margin. So, yeah, it's not a sustainable thing going forward, this load shedding, unfortunately for us.
Yeah, because on the one hand, you know that it is going to last indefinitely, well, for some time. We understand, on one hand, it could be as long as 18 months or so. But on the other hand, as an association, I would imagine you would like to see those pre-COVID-19 numbers, what we were seeing in 2019 and earlier. Just from an industry perspective, what are some of those initiatives you've got going on in terms of, just speaking from a sustainability perspective, in terms of saying, these are the key learnings we've learned from, COVID-19, and how then do we get back to 2019, notwithstanding the challenges that we are currently seeing?
You have to understand, sustainability is not just a buzzword. It is something that every business owner, regardless if you're in tourism, you have to apply into or get going in your business. At the end of the day, sustainability also means lower running costs and more profit margins, which is what we need in this industry, especially at this time. We're encouraging better waste management on our members, composting, and on the waste side, and then on the power generation is the alternate energies. The coast has the option of going wind energy, inland solar, and we've seen a huge take-up by our members, not only in KZN, but across the province, country, in terms of installing solar, especially now with the load shedding. Guys are now putting in a lot of battery backup, which of course, further on, those costs will come back and be redeemed by the industry. But the issue is the short-term impact now, because it's huge capital outlays to get alternate energy on board into a business, especially with hotels and resorts. We consume a lot of electricity. Energy is one of our biggest expenses. So, yeah, it's something we're definitely encouraging our members to look into.
Well, Brett, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. And of course, good luck to you and all of your members as you try and make those numbers over this festive period. Brett Tungay, the Federated Hospitality Association of Southern Africa East Coast Board chairperson, saying the numbers are looking good so far for KZN and Durban in particular, even though they are experiencing some challenges, particularly as it relates to that E. coli bacteria levels.